Hello everyone, my name is Natalie Kiles and I'm a psychology teacher at International School Michaelucius. If you always thought that psychology is basically just lying on a couch and talking about your feelings and problems all day, you couldn't be more wrong. Our dear Mr. Freud helped create that stereotype, and in AS and A-level psychology we will try to eradicate that. Here, psychology is rather introduced as a science, and we will look at important research that has been conducted over the last years to further our understanding of the human mind and behavior.
So let's see what it means to be scientific in psychology. It all starts with observations and different patterns that you might quantify. This is leading to a theory. And this theory is leading to predictions that you can make about future behavior. Of course, you would like to test your predictions and find some evidence. If your predictions are not testable, well then you should probably come up with new predictions. So let's get back to evidence. Obviously, if you find evidence, you're happy and you have two possibilities. You either can apply them to real life, or you can proceed with new predictions and find new evidence. If you cannot find any evidence for your predictions, well then you should probably get a new theory. Did you ever wonder what kind of research methods psychologists use?
Methods used to investigate questions in psychology are called research methods. They are used to find out more about human and animal cognition, emotions, and behavior. Let's have a look at some examples. Psychologists often use laboratory experiments that are conducted in artificial surroundings, so participants are not in the usual environment for the behavior they are performing. In field experiments, participants are in their own natural environment. Like here in the picture, you can see students in a classroom participating in a study. In a self-report, the participant gives the researcher information about themselves directly. This can either happen in written or in spoken form. Observations involve watching human or animal participants. In this picture, you can see an example of a structured observation from child psychology. In psychology, we also use a range of clinical methods, like for example brain scan or psychophysiological measures. And also we use case studies, which are detailed investigations of a single instance, for example one person or a single family or institution.
So even though psychology mostly uses that scientific approach that we've just seen, people still tend to ask if you can read their minds when they learn that you're a psychologist. This is of course very often meant as a joke, but people might not realize that there is some truth in the idea of mind reading in psychology. At first, this may seem as if we really were some kind of fortune tellers, because obviously the human mind is not something that is observable. You cannot just go and split open a person's skull to discover their thoughts, feelings, opinions, and attitudes about things. However, what you can do is go and observe people's behavior and listen to what they say. And then you can go from there and make assumptions and inferences about what's going on in their minds. If we see a person that's crying, for example, most of us would assume that that person is sad about something. So we observe and we make an assumption about the person's mental or emotional state. So to some extent, every one of us could actually be considered a mind reader. One problem, however, is that people have a certain control over what they are willing to share with the outside world. So the inferences we make might not always be true or accurate, as people can deliberately change their behavior to cover up what's going on in their minds. And that variable actually makes it really hard sometimes to conduct valid research in psychology, because it adds bias to the results. In the 12 studies that we will see in AS level, this is an issue that is quite often discussed. But enough from me now. Who would know more about the program than the students who studied it all year long? So each of the 4 approaches will now be briefly outlined by one student. Let's hear what they have to say.
Hello, my name is Sophia Zain, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the social approach and its assumptions in the AS Psychology Cambridge course. Starting off, social psychologists are interested in how we work in the social world. So they would look at how we interact with each other and how we interact in groups. So essentially, they'll be looking at us as individuals and as group members and seeing how this would affect our behavior. While looking at the social approach, you will be studying 3 core studies that all share 2 main social approach assumptions. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about the core studies because I don't want to spoil them, but it will be Milgram, Pillevin et al., and Yamamoto et al. First assumption that they all share is that behavior, cognition, and emotion can all be influenced by other individuals. And the second assumption is that behavior, cognition, and emotion can be influenced by groups or social contexts. And there is the social approach. Before I wrap this up here, I do want to quickly mention there will be 3 other very fun and very interesting approaches with their own set of assumptions and core studies. So there truly is something for everyone in the psychology course. That's all I have for you today, but way more in psychology that's coming your way. So many different discussions and debates, my favorite part. Personally, wishing you all the best in the new academic school year. Good luck.
So I'll be talking about the cognitive approach in psychology. The cognitive approach has 2 main assumptions. The first is that behavior and emotions can be explained in terms of cognitive processes such as attention, language, thinking, and memory. And the second is that similarities and differences between people can be understood by individual patterns of cognition. These 2 assumptions are investigated and further dived into through 3 studies. The first is Andrade, which is a doodling study. It studies how doodling affects memory. So you have some people who are doodling and some aren't, and they just see how they remember different things. The second is Baron Cohen, which takes a look at how people can read emotions, and it actually also looks at people on the autism spectrum, so people with high-functioning autism or Asperger's. And then the last is Laney et al., which investigates if you can implant false memories in people.
Psychology classes because they're open for discussion and they're open for the debates. And that really makes you think outside of a box and look at the problem or at a situation from different angles and different approaches. Moreover, it's a very interactive class. We've been doing a lot of posters which will help you to memorize the curriculum better, which you can later on apply when you have to be writing the exams. All of my favorite studies were from biological approach. And biological approach is when you explain emotions, behavior, and cognition through how your brain functions and what effect hormones have on those factors. I really enjoyed those studies because personally I enjoy the more scientific part of psychology. With that being said, it shows that there's a range of possibilities and different types of studies, so I'm sure there's something for everyone.
Just like the other 3 approaches, the learning approach has assumptions. These assumptions are that, for one, social learning can help explain changing behavior, and conditioning can help explain changing behavior. So during this approach, you also look at 3 studies. The first study is about aggression and how certain behavior displayed by adults can be imitated and picked up by children. The second is actually a case study, and it will show how conditioning can help with a phobia. And the last study you look at for this approach is about teaching the concept of same or different in terms of objects to an animal, a parrot here.
Hello, my name is Lynn Poljan and I'm a psychology teacher at International School Michel Utsus. So first of all, I'd like to thank the students for presenting parts of the course and sharing their experiences with you. So obviously during the course we will try to answer several other questions, like for example, how do psychologists treat phobias? Or how is virtual reality used in the diagnosis and treatment of schizophrenia? Or maybe which role do color, light, smell or sound play in your shopping behavior? Also, what makes good advertisement? So I hope that this video showed you that psychology is a complex and interesting topic and that it is a lot more than just Freud in couches. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.